you are part of the movement to save Diablo Canyon. Here's a picture. You can see Isabel there standing next to the podium. Um, Tell me about that fight there in California because you're you're making this case for the environmental benefits of nuclear. California is supposed to be the green state, and yet they have been shutting down plant after plant, and Diablo is, the last one standing, and you managed to save it. Tell me a little bit about the importance of that fight of Diablo Canyon.
It's funny that California claims to be the leader in clean energy and the most concerned with climate, when in reality Texas has the largest amount of clean energy sources, which is you know very confusing to a lot of people. But yeah, unfortunately, California for decades was extremely anti-nuclear. I see California as actually the birthplace of the anti-nuclear movement in the United States,
Mhm.
and in many ways, Diablo Canyon was the symbol of that movement. Back when it was being built in the 60s, it was protested by hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, people put themselves on the gates, stopping workers from coming in. People were arrested. Famous musicians were arrested protesting the build of this plant. So it has a very juicy history, and like I said, it was in many ways the symbol of the anti-nuclear movement in the United States. And so when I started my advocacy work back in 2020, I very quickly started looking into all the plants that were at risk of being shut down in the United States. And there were 5 at the time. I can't remember all of them, but it was like a couple in Illinois, and Diablo Canyon was one of them. Diablo Canyon was supposed to shut down in 2025, so this year. And I figured that if I focused on it, it would potentially serve as an example to the rest, not just of the country, but to the rest of the world, that, public opinion is shifting. And if nuclear can make a comeback in California, it can make it anywhere except for Germany at this point. But that's another topic. Um, so I started focusing on Diablo Canyon, and back then I remember calling a bunch of different pro-nuclear environmental organizations, which there aren't too many, but they all kind of told me the same thing, which is, yeah, just forget about it. This is a lost cause. This plant is gonna shut down.
Hmm.
But I just kept asking
Why
the
were they
same.
so pessimistic at that point? Was the environmental movement in California just kind of categorically against nuclear power?
So they were very yes, they were very jaded, mainly because most of those people had participated in an effort to try and save Diablo Canyon back in 2018, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, and that failed. Um, so PG&E made a deal with a bunch of different environmental organizations to shut the plant down in 2025. So I think a lot of people thought, we've tried this, it's not gonna happen. What I thought was different back in 2021 was, well, several things. First was California was dealing with blackouts, or at least the risk, the very real risk of blackouts. If you live in California for the last 4 or 5 years, you have received flex alerts every summer, which is this text messages telling you to stop using electricity. Turn off your air conditioning, don't use laundry machines, which is just absolutely insane if you think we're in a first world country. That people are going to be told to please stop using electricity. And so I thought that had changed. It was also back then there was a very new electric vehicle mandate. So after 2030 or something, the only sales of new cars in California could be electric vehicles. So what that meant is, a lot of people would start using more electricity at night, which is when most people charge their cars. And California relies very heavily on solar. Um, Sun is not shining at night, so you're not getting electricity from them. So it made sense to me that they would want to keep a source of clean energy that actually works at night and pretty much all the time. So there are a couple of things like that that had changed that gave me hope that this could be successful this time around. But, most people were very, very jaded on it and thought it was a waste of time for sure.
Why should progressive environmentalists care about nuclear? Should they be championing it? Like, have you made any surprising alliances, or have you found any people who really understand this the way you do?
In the progressive movement?
Mhm.
I think
Yes.
absolutely. The past 2 years I've been spending a lot of time with, just people in the environmental movement because, a lot of times whenever you are in the nuclear electricity space, you just wanna talk to people in that space as well because obviously they understand your argument and where you're coming from, but, um, I've made an effort the past 2 years to just go beyond that and really connect with people in the environmental movement, and their responses is it's pretty similar to people everywhere, they'll behind closed doors, they'll come up to you and say, I support nuclear, but I'm so afraid to say it publicly." And the
Mm.
point I keep making is everybody's saying the same thing. It's a little bit of what happened in regards to the woke stuff, where for years everybody would say, yeah, I'm kind of terrified of this woke culture, but I'm terrified that if I say something publicly, people will come after me. And now, of course, it's being more normalized. But it's kind of the same thing here, where everybody behind closed doors is says, I support this technology, but I'm afraid to say so publicly.
Hey, that was a clip from Just Asking Questions. You can watch another one here or the full episode here. And please subscribe to our brand new channel to get us started off right and be notified when new episodes or clips go up. Thanks for watching.